Join on the Sofa with Esther, Tuesday's Words of Wisdom, a special round table discussion about a time of revelation, the falling away of the old, the power of love, authenticity, and truth against hate. Well, ladies and gentlemen, welcome, everyone. Welcome to On the Sofa with yours truly, Esther Austin, on my show, Tuesday's Words of Wisdom. And looking forward to having this incredible conversation with each and every one of you from across the globe. Yes, you know, there's Bangladesh in the room, there's LA, there's South Africa, there's Italy. So we're going to have this incredible and dynamic conversation of the subject matter at hand. And that subject matter is really about how can we in this time, still hold on to the threads of hope. How can we inspire not just ourselves in our daily lives as we go, but also inspire others around us and keep the vibrations high? And so before I go any further, I'm going to ask each and every one to address yourself. Who are you? Just a little bit about who you are and the reason. So I know I'm being a bit vain here, like I was saying to John earlier. My granddaughter got hold of my glasses and she loves these and she broke the lens. But I love them so much, so you might see me sort of try to adjust them along the way. But anyway, without further ado, let's go to Italy. Martina.
I knew you'd choose me first. Hi, my name is Martina Gruppo and I live in Rome, well, south of Rome on the coast. I'm delighted to be here. I've written a book called Hello Flower, and it's about, well, it's my memoir about a pretty traumatic time, but we can talk about that later, maybe. But yes, it's about narcissistic abuse or invisible narcissistic abuse and how it affects somebody who's right in the middle of it and how you deal with that, get out of it, and then carry on. Just, you know, keep smiling really and keep shining. So yes, it's about that. Anyway, very nice to meet all of you and lovely to be here. Thank you.
And what I'm going to be doing with Martina in September as part of the autumn season of my show, I'm going to be doing a real in-depth one-to-one with her. So today she's just going to dip a little bit into that and then just share, you know, what she does on a daily, her practices of holding on to peace, you know, getting through her days. So thank you. And then next we are going to go over to John Sly Wilson from Sly, Slick and Wicked, all the way in Los Angeles.
Oh, okay. My name is John Sly Wilson. I'm from the group Sly, Slick and Wicked. We are displayed in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. I'm inducted into the R&B Hall of Fame, the Motown Hall of Fame. Still together, still performing as a producer. I was in-house producer and senior vice president for Joe Jackson Productions. I produced Janet Jackson, LaToya Jackson, Alfonso Ribeiro, Barry White, worked with OJ's. I produced in Japan. I'm the first African-American to take gospel to Japan, the first to score a Vietnamese film. Been down to South Africa working, New Zealand, around the world 18 times. And if you Google my name, well, if you go to YouTube and put John Sly Wilson, I did 145 voice choir for peace. I brought in, it was like We Are the World on steroids. I brought in all the top artists from all over the world in the name of peace. And then in 2016, I was surprised and I got the Lifetime Achievement Award from President Barack Obama. So that's some.
And the most humble people. And I always say John's got a mind like an elephant. I mean, you can ask John. He reminds me of Deborah, Eric. You know, Deborah Hayter, my sister from another mother. You can ask him about anything on the globe, and he'll just give you reams and reams and reams of stuff. You know, a real historian about his culture and about music. So thank you, John. Thank you. And next, we're going to go over to Timothy John-Baptiste. Timothy, you're on mute.
the end.
I've unmuted, but unfortunately, I'm not unfrozen, so I've got to sort this laptop out. I wouldn't mind. It's pretty new, so I don't know what's going on with it. So, yeah, well, let's. I didn't hear you then.
You're doing well as a ventriloquist.
Well, I can say, everybody, just watch my lips, right? Just watch my lips. Okay. All right. Well, I'm glad I was given the opportunity to continue from John, because I'm an advocate for peace. I've been running a campaign for the last 13 years now, nearly 14 years, about peace. So I'm very much a person that wants to be an instrument to peace, to try and get people thinking about peace. So Esther knows a little bit more about me than anybody else. I've got an organization called Time for World Peace. I've been working with young people for many years now, and I've realized there's so much violence in the schools and at homes and communities, and what we're listening to going on across the waters and what's going on in the UK at the moment. And every day I still, even the challenges are quite high with the violence and what you see daily, but I still stand for peace. Time for world peace. It's time for the world to be peaceful. And I'm just trying to get as many people on board. I link it with using time for world peace. And I'm about to use a little snippet, a little point in time where at 4 o'clock, I teach the young people that if you want the world to be at peace, firstly, you've got to start with your world. Make your world peaceful. And the strap line for me is at 4 o'clock each day. Take action and make peace with somebody in your world, something that you're in control of. Make peace with yourself if needs be, member of a family, a next door neighbor, somebody in your community. I call it 4 levels of peace: yourself, your family, your neighbors, and your community, your world. And I say to my young people, if you can just reach out and make peace with just one person in your world, you would have just made the wider world a more peaceful place.
Wow.
So I run a number of programs which builds on peace. I delivered one a little while ago when I just had to rush back to sort myself out.
Oh, Tim, what we're going to do, sorry to butt in, my dear, we're going to expand as we go through. Everybody's going to tell a little bit more about what they do. I just want everyone to introduce themselves in the interim, and then we'll sort of duck and dive into all the wonderful stories that you've all got to share, and also what you're doing in your own communities to keep that hub of peace. And so now we're going to go over to Bangladesh. This is Sihabul, and I've just got to say something about this gentleman. He started working with me on my magazine about 4 years ago, and it's interesting because this whole thing of peace, our professional relationship was tested a few times, but the beauty is that when we allow ourselves to humble ourselves, to be open to having dialogue with another, there's power in that. When I can pick up the phone and have a conversation and have a direct conversation, and then we've got the sort of cross-cultural, sort of maybe sometimes the language barrier and the understanding of what's said. I really take my hat to this gentleman, and he's also very good at what he does. So Sihabul from Bangladesh, just introduce yourself.
Thank you, Esther, for this great opportunity to talk among the people who have actually worked for the peace movement, the establishment of the peace over their communities among the people. And that recently in Bangladesh, it has been a revolution and a protest to fall the dictator. So, hi, this is Sihabul Hasan. I am a creative agency owner, small creative agency owner, and a freelance designer, working with Esther with a lot of time. And it's a great opportunity to work with her. I have learned a lot of things, the cross-functional movements and the cultural transitions. I have been learned from her, and it's a great movement, And I am really fortunate to be with you and in front of the guys who are talking right now. Thank you for that.
Thank you, Sihabul. And now we're gonna just ramp it up a bit to my big brother from another mother, Jeremy Curtis, and also I've got my sister from another mother, Katie Rose, online. So Jeremy, just give a brief introduction of your name and what you do, because you do a lot of healing work as well in the
Hello, everyone. Hello, Sister Esther. Hello, everyone. It's wonderful listening to everyone. Timothy, very inspiring with people working for peace on every level, local and accessible. I work on a global level for peace. I found a gentleman that knows how to manipulate karma for the benefit of all mankind, and that's all I do 24/7. But I know it's important on the local level as well. And so I feel inspired that all of us here have our way of touching the people around us, smaller community, larger community. And I think there's no end to the ways you can do things. And I think that's why it's important to have as much a variety of approach as possible. I used to be a musician, so I really connect to all the people out there still using sound to touch people's hearts. And but for me, it's how you manipulate karma globally, sound that energy. And it is like, if you like, it's a war between positive and negative. So by going for the positive and ignoring the negative's feeble attempts to try and put the fear out there, it's just a game and they will lose. They've already lost. So we here are the proof of where it's going to go. And we just have to keep remembering there's a variety of things to do this. There's no one way because there's so many different people in the world. We have to be able to cater for everyone's character and flavor. Like music isn't one way, working for peace isn't one way, but effectiveness is everything. Music has to touch us and peace work has to inspire us. And we have the power to do great things.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. So we've got 3 other people left, 4 people left. I'm going to go over to someone that I met recently, Eric McKain. Eric McKain,
Hey.
you know.
Hello, everybody. How's everybody doing?
We're good. I'm sure we're good. So John is waving at you, and I'm sure.
John Slide, have we met before, man? I think we crossed paths. We had to have. I mean, your history is very similar to mine.
Right. So what we're going to do, this
Go ahead.
on audio.
You're breaking up.
John, just say, not John, Eric, just say who you are and what you do, and then we're going to speak to Steve.
Eric McKain, percussionist, musician, producer, songwriter, basically a studio musician. In the theater, Broadway plays, Lion King, Phantom, Wicked. My history is with the at Motown with Tina Marie, worked with Stevie Wonder, played on a couple of Michael Jackson tracks, 10 years with the Pointer Sisters, Jeffrey Osborne, James Ingram, even Barry White, Bobby Womack, Temptation, Smokey Robinson, Benjamin Wright, Ron Ellison, Wayne Vaughn, Earth, Wind and Fire.
Oh, sure. Oh, what?
Hey, I've been, put it this way, I've been around for 45, almost 50 years now. So
all old friends we
definitely
definitely
seem to fail me. Go ahead, John. I didn't hear you.
Sorry to interrupt. I said, yeah, all old friends, we definitely ran each other. Absolutely.
Oh, absolutely. Sly, Slick, and the Wicked. I'm yours.
I'm going to have to do another show with a lot of you legends and pioneers.
Yeah, because I know we get into talking about music, and this is not the subject, but I'm sure John and I and the rest of your guests, we can share many stories together, and this will be funny.
Absolutely.
But go ahead, guys. I'm sorry.
That's okay. And Stephen, introduce yourself, Stephen. I've never met you before, but you were Eric really wanted you to come on today. So introduce yourself, please. And then we've just got 2 more people, or 3 more.
My name is Kimbro. I'm known on my comedy stages as the Pod Brother. I'm a film producer, podcaster, filmmaker, and I also produce film festivals. And the only piece I'm interested in is the 4 pieces of barbecue chicken that ends up on Eric's grill when he throws these great house parties.
You're welcome to come over. We get down, Freddie Brown.
Peace is peace.
Love that. So, and this platform tonight is we are going to talk about peace. We are going to talk about love. We are going to talk about all those things that inspire us. But also, as we know, laughter and humor is a huge part of the healing process and of keeping people sane and of keeping people together. So I'll be dipping into you, brothers. And yes, I'll become another one albatross for my chicken. Okay, right. Next, From in South Africa, we've got Angel. You're my angel. So Angel, yes. So just say who you are and what you do, and then we're going to go on to Katie, and there's also Lowell, who's just going to be on audio. So over to you, Angel.
Hey everyone, hi. I'm Angel Abitha. I originally come from the UK, but I'm currently traveling, so I'm currently in Cape Town. I am what you'd call a wounded healer. So I've been on the journey of self-healing for 29 years. And in that, I've now become a healer of mind, body, and soul. I'm very much, I help people through my work of counseling, shamanic healer, sacred celebrant, author. And it's, for me, it's really important that people, for myself and people, that we find that inner peace by healing ourselves, healing our inner child, and doing the shadow work. And in that way, we affect change. We are the change that we want to see in the world. So that's how I roam the planet.
Brilliant, brilliant. Thank you, Angel. Thank you. And then there's Katie, my sister from another mother.
Hello, hello. It's lovely to be here, and thank you very much for inviting me. I'm joining the ranks of the musicians, and yeah, so I'm a singer and writer based in London, and I share many of the sentiments people have shared about the power of music to touch us and inspire us and build community. I've done lots and lots of singing projects in charities and community sector and hospices, and I'm constantly seeing the amazing things that music can do for people in very challenging circumstances. So, and that's very touching and wonderful work to do. And it's my honor to be here sharing the way with you all. Thank you.
Brilliant, brilliant. And last but not least, Lowell. Oh, it's difficult to talk. I am Lowell. Okay, so Lowell's just going to sit in and listen, and when he can, he'll be part of this. So what I'm going to do now, we've all introduced ourselves. So what I'm going to do now is really open things up. And I felt inspired and I felt really impassioned to put this together because this, like as we know, there's so much that's happening out there in the world. And I know I sound like there's so much happening out there in the world today, but the reality there is, and it's really impacting on people's lives. I mean, I'm very much an empath, so when I walk out on the streets, I am seeing the pain, I am sensing the pain. There's a sense of sometimes I'm just seeing zombies because people have become so detached from their soul, from their essence, and people are struggling. And you know, even like when I'm hearing my boys talk in terms of what's going on in the world of a lot of the young people, I'm like, because they spoke about somebody who got stabbed 14 times a couple of weeks ago, who just came home, and now we've got all this stuff, the riots in the UK and what's happening just globally. And I thought, how can we just come together, a bunch of us come together? Yes, we're going to have some fun in between, but also how can we share some of the practices, some of the things that we do to keep ourselves topped up, to keep ourselves sane? And because a lot of people look at me and they always think I'm strong. I mean, I've got my tools. I've got my tools, you know, exercise, meditate, pray, and I like my space. I've got my grandkids.'t got all those things that keep me topped up. But even sometimes, especially the past 2 weeks, I've struggled a bit because outside there's constant police car, ambulance, police car. They had the big blue police vans that were up and down for the past 2 weeks. And it started to play on my mental health a bit because I'm like, I don't want to hear the vibration of that in my world all the time. And so what I do, I go to the park, I put on music, and you know, and I'm mindful of what I speak into my world as well. And I've got a few people that I can call and to. So what I'd like you all to share is, you know, what is your go-to place, and are you being impacted energetically by what's happening globally? And you know, what are your tools? What are your techniques? I know we're going to get lots of laughter and humor from Stephen, and I, you know, Eric Eric has got this little bubbly puppy energy about him, and we've all got something that we're bringing into this space that people are going to take away and say, what a powerful show. And they might not be impacted by something I say, but they may be impacted by something John says. Even Sihabul, when he shared about what's currently happened in Bangladesh, he saw a 12-year-old killed in front of him. This was just a few weeks ago. So I said, you know, how are you managing that space with all that you've seen recently? So we are going to go over to Martina, because you've been...
Oh, Esther, that's so unfair. Okay, I can't.
I'm going to have to press delete.
I can't speak for communities or things like that, but what I can say is that having gone through a pretty traumatic situation myself, but hidden for years, you know, having to deal with something that affected me in such a way that I wasn't even aware it was happening until, you know, after a long time. I had a three-way kind of thing of how to deal with that after I left. And I've been out for 2.5 years, but the sort of the trauma runs deep, it runs right through you. Trauma can be anything, you know, from anything that's going on in England, in Bangladesh, in any of these situations, as you say, you can apply it to any of these situations. The first thing I did once I was out was acknowledge what I'd actually been through, you know, take it, face value. Okay, this has happened, all right? This was something that was beyond my control. In the words of a friend of mine, she said, you've been had, you know, and that's kind of how I felt completely. So by acknowledging it, you admit, because until you acknowledge what's actually happened, you're kind of in denial for a long time. The second thing was that I allowed myself to feel. So I allowed myself to feel angry. I allowed myself to feel sad. I allowed myself as well to grieve, to dance in the kitchen when it took over, to shout at the unfairness of the whole situation, at what I thought was real was in fact a lie. And then the second part is kind of a double thing, and that is building and boundaries. One was building is the main thing, and building my self-esteem, my self-confidence, finding my peace, if you know, if I can say it like that, by building myself up, because I think it was Angel that said it starts with you. You know, you're the one who can bring about the change. Okay.
Brilliant, thank you. And you said you're not, you know, yours is not very much about community, but everything you said there, Martina, it is also about community in terms of the processes. So
yes.
Even
yes.
at this moment in time, it's about individuals, you know, taking note of what's happening, taking responsibility. And so the steps are very similar. It was just that yours is your own individual experience. So thank you. And like I said, ladies and gents, I'm going to be interviewing Martina on a deeper level in a few weeks' time on my Sunday show. Yes, thank you. And
so, I just say, I'm not singing. I don't play any musical instruments. Okay, I'm going to leave that to all of you guys. Obviously, I can't do any of that.
That's okay. You'll bring your real essence. So thank you. Thank you. And now we're going to go over to John. John, you know, you said that you've done a lot of work. You've worked with some incredible people, but also many years ago, you did this huge concert that was around peace, if I remember correctly. But I must also share this, that I remember when I interviewed you, John, and you shared quite a poignant story about the time. I think you were on the Chitlin circuit. You have to remind me if I'm not getting this right. You were on the Chitlin circuit and you were stopped by the police, and you feared so much for your life because, as we know, what's happened a lot along the Chitlin circuit and in the States. And as a musician and as a Black man, if I may use that word, or as an African American. And I remember saying to you, how did you, all these experiences that you had as an African American man, how did you not hate? How did you not carry that? John?
Well, being born and raised in Cleveland, Ohio, which you can't, in America, you can't get farther north, else you'll be in Canada. I experienced it at a very young age. I remember the first time I ever experienced somebody calling me the word. I was 8 years old. Okay. And born in the inner city in Cleveland, my dad saved enough money to move out to a neighborhood that we weren't supposed to be in. And that kids were, little 8 and 9-year-old kids were riding around us calling us the word. Okay. And I could have got angry then, but one person who gave me hope, who came to our neighborhood to speak, who I was standing only 10 feet from him, was Martin Luther King. I saw him in person. Okay. And he gave a speech. He wasn't on any grand stage. He was on the back of a truck, a farmer's truck, and they had a microphone there. And he gave his speech about loving everybody. And because, of course, a couple of years ago, he was gone. So I started saying, wait a minute, we're all human beings. And my mother and father used to say the same thing. Says, John, don't ever carry that hate around with you. Try to do something better. So as, you know, I got into the music industry and started touring the world, which I've been around the world now 18 times. I never met a musician I didn't like. We may not speak the same language, but when we put the music on, we're going to do this in harmony. And we're going to find some kind of way to communicate. When I was asked to do the World Peace Choir, and you can go to YouTube and type in John Sly Wilson, you see, I was talking I was in-house producer and senior vice president of Joe Jackson Productions, and they had just did We Are the World. And I discussed with the family that I was getting ready to do the concert, but I wanted to bring all the top artists together. And we did it. I mean, I did the kids that morning, which they were from all over the world. The only thing they got mad at me about was that I didn't get them the big enough pizza at the end of the day. But I ended up doing 98 vocals. And the last 2 points I want to say is that I said I was looking at everybody on the stage, from Al Jarreau to Patrick Swayze to Edgar Winter to Shanice Wilson to the top artists from Russia, the top artists. So what I did, I took Liel from Israel and I put her right next to Prince Ali from Afghanistan.
Oh, wow.
I had David Lee from Taiwan and put him right next to Jane Zhang from China. They had no problems. And I'm going to end this, just say, just 48 hours ago, I was at this event here in Los Angeles where all the consul generals and ambassadors from almost every country was there. This is just 48 hours ago. And there I was in a conversation. Here was a young lady from Russia, and I'm talking to 2 young ladies from the Ukraine. And we were talking about how can we come together through music. Could I write some songs for them in their language? I said, well, I just did a thing with Andy from Iraq, and I had LaToya Jackson, where LaToya Jackson is singing in Farsi and doing a duet with Andy. I said, in music, we know no boundaries. We know how to love each other. So how come we can't take this there? When I was in South Africa, I was in Masela, Lesotho, Gaborone, Botswana, and Johannesburg, and I brought all those artists together. So if we can bring that type of feeling, when I'm looking at all this diversity that on this Zoomcast, and I wish I could reach out and touch everybody and say, hey, let's do a song, because music is the healing force of the world. And when you get to it, I'm going to say these names right quick.
Can you sing?
I'm sorry?
Stephen, can you sing?
Can I sing?
I was just, it was a joke. I was saying, Stephen, can you sing? But he's
but I was going to say, if and this is on the internet, two of the most infamous names in history is Fidel Castro and now Putin. But if you go on YouTube, you'll see Putin, his favorite song is Blueberry Hill. And he's there playing and singing. Fidel Castro was a jazz fanatic, And so when you deal with music, and I've been to London, and I've been everywhere that's on this call. I've never experienced a problem because of music first.
Thank
And
you.
so I'm sorry if I'm getting
No. Thank you. It's okay. I'm gonna moderate as best as I can, but thank you for that. And for anybody who wants to take up the offer to come together to sing, let's do it. This really put it out.
Maybe.
And if anybody's interested, let's do it. And Martina, you might not be able to sing, but I'm sure you can conduct or hold the score or whatever. Thank you very much, John. Thank you. And now I'm going to go over to, because Stephen is looking a little restless. So Stephen, what about you? How in your world, what is it that you do that's obviously through humor, but in your world, how do you reach out and touch your community, and how do you manage some of those moments where it takes over and it may affect your mental health and well-being? What does Stephen do?
That is a very, very good question. I was a nationally ranked diver when I was young, and I qualified to be on the U.S. Olympic team back in 1980. And my coach, whenever I would do a dive and I was back, he'd make me get right back on the board and do it again, just so that I wouldn't let your mind let the fear kick in of what just happened, that tragic mistake that maybe like made your eyes swell up. And I apply that to my stand-up comedy. Fortunately for me, I have a community of professional stand-up comedians that, because I've been doing this for 40 years, so I have access to a lot of famous and professional comedians. And we have kind of this elite group of comedians that have evolved to the point where comedy focuses on tragedy and pain and all the things that give the body tension. So everything that happens in your life, a death, a tragedy, a disaster, that builds tension in your body, and laughter is one of the only ways to relieve that tension. That's why your physical body goes ha 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 when you laugh. That physical execution of releasing the tension that you build from everyday stress, whether it's racism, religion, politics, relationships, parents, kids, teachers, pets, anything that pulls stress into the body, laughter releases that. And that's why laughter is so healing. That's one of the reasons why I became a professional comedian. But to answer your question, how you relieve tension is you go directly to the pain and the source, and you go through your process. Your first process as a human being to recognize it as a tragedy, as a loss, as a pain, as a setback. The second is to accelerate the mourning process. For comedians, it's seconds, it's minutes. We see the tragedy as a human being, it affects us. We have a designated period of mourning that tragedy, and then we can now create humor about that tragedy to relieve the tension that tragedy has put into our body.
Okay.
Now, the world, the audiences can't adjust that fast. They need time. They need time to process. They need time to mourn. They need time to get to a place where they can finally laugh at it. Whereas comedians at a very evolved level can do it in seconds. So for me, when anything happens tragically in my life or in the world, I call my few elite friends of comedians, and I go through that process instantly, and then I do material on it. So we go back and forth, and we do jokes about that very tragic thing. And the rule is, there is no filter on it. No matter what it is, we figure out how to make that funny. And if we find a point that can lighten up that and we can laugh about it, it helps relieve the tension that event has put in our body. So, but not everybody has that. That's how I do it. That's how a handful of my comedians do it. And that's how we can able to process what's going on in the world. It's kind of like Jon Stewart and The Daily Show, and anything that's happening, he's able to take that and turn it into a joke, no matter how tragic it is. So that's my go-to. And my advice would be, if you can somehow find humor in any and everything that creates tension in your body, then try to find that.
Thank you. Thank you. I might try something towards the end of the show, but that's towards the end. Because if I insult you, I can always press end, right?
Absolutely.
Absolutely. And Eric, what about you? We're just sharing, I don't know if you felt or if you've been impacted with, because quite a lot of us here are healers in our own way, and we're empaths, so we feel and sense a lot of what's going on in the world, other than what's in our own world. And a lot of the work that we do individually outside of music, I'm a Reiki practitioner and intuitive healer, so I do a lot of counseling and stuff in the community. So for you, Eric, I don't know what's impacting you, because I know there's a lot going on in the States at the moment, but where do you go to? What is your process, and what sort of nuggets of gold can you share with those who may be going through some sort of hardship, whether it's racism, sexism, whatever it is? What can you share, Eric? McKain.
This is where it starts. Everybody.
In Maracas.
The groove on.
I can feel it, but I can't hear it.
That's what gets me off.
Okay.
So yeah, that's what makes me happy. Whenever I see darkness around me, which we have an abundance of darkness right now, folks. And music, as John said, it brings everyone together musician-wise, and I would like to spread that love with all of you. So before we leave this is my gift to you all. That makes me happy.
Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, we're going to do that song with you, John. We're going to be playing, we're all going to find our musical gifts if we haven't already, and we are going to come together and do something with it. Look, he's ready. Fantastic. You stay there with that, because
today is my fun day, people. You guys can get into the deep stuff today, but right now, McKain is grooving.
He's always on a high. Thank you, Eric. And now we're going to go over to Sihabul. Sihabul, I'd like you to share, and we're trying to keep things as condensed as possible, but just share some of what you've experienced over the past few weeks, and how have you managed and processed a lot of what you saw, and also what does this newfound freedom mean to you? How is it going to impact you? Because on some level, everyone everywhere are fighting for some level of freedom, some level of recognition, some level of, I am a human being. So just share briefly some of what you've experienced recently and how that impacted you, and how have you released it?
Thank you, Esther, for that opportunity to talk about the recent revolution, or you can say that the deadliest revolution of our people, because in 1971 we got the independence in a very, very deadliest war against Pakistan, and after that 55 years right now, we again got the independence. Why that thing happened is, the reason was there was the domination of peace all over the country. The dictator that fall through the revolution over the bloodshed of the lot of people in Bangladesh. And this happened from a small movement of quota recorrection in the government job. And it happened only for few movements. But the government didn't recognize that thing, they didn't accept that thing, because they thought that it should not be the way the students asking, it should be the way the government is trying to make sure, so that the people from her side can enter into the job. So it happened from one single movement, and the people was gathering together and trying to make peace all over the country, that it can be handled through peace it can be handled through the conversation, like that thing. But it came over a deadliest movement from the government side. Police, the rapid action battalions, the special forces been applied on the student who was not armed, but they were armed with the deadliest weapons. More than thousands been killed on that revolutions. 10,000 or 15,000 been, like, they have lost their eyes, their hands, their body parts into that deadliest revolution. Still, that things happening. We, the IT professionals, were trying to make sure that the peace should be applied all over the country. We were trying to reach to the UN for asking for the peace or dominating the government from any side, from any European countries, the embassies, everywhere. But unfortunately, our internet and our all networks were down for 7 days. And on that 7 days, the killing was massive in the roads, in the houses, everywhere. And the bullets are coming from the helicopter, the choppers, everywhere. The kid who was sitting into the yard, she was being killed for no reason. A 6-year-old kid, a 4-year-old kid, for no reason. It was like every perspective of the government was trying to dominate that protest to be stable, whatever happens. But we IT professionals, from the religious mentors, a lot of people are trying to make the peace from every corner of their movements. Like, we were trying to make graffitis on the wall. We are trying to stop the rumors that happens every time when the revolution becomes, that stopping the rumors that are happening that can make the protest so violent. So from every side of corner, we were trying to make sure that the peace should be stable, but it didn't happen right now. And still the rumors are happening everywhere. UN took their
moment, Sihabul. So sorry to interject. So
yeah.
for you personally, what was it like? Because I'm just trying to keep things as tight as possible. So for you, to see all of that, to see all those people dying around you, firstly, how did you feel? And then how has it changed you? Those are the two questions. So how did you feel, and how did it change you, Sihabul?
Actually, on that position, actually, it was very difficult to keep calm and feel comfortable. But the way it happened, it gave us the traumatic attacks on our head. We are not mentally good right now. But what's happening, we are just going for psychiatrists, we are just going for moving forward what the achievement is. Like this kind of things we are just trying to achieve. We are just trying to recorrection our country right now. We are just trying to develop our reserve right now from every seat of corner. So talking with each other, and expressing our feeling through the medias, to the all over the world, we are trying to release our frustration from us. So that's how we are just going right now. Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you.
And one thing I just wanted to express through your program, that everyone should know about this thing, that in the last 17 years, the government operated a torture cell called the Ainaghar. That is a torture cell. I don't know in any country, any government have this kind of operations. This operation is the torture cell for who wanted the freedom of speech. So she kept them into that torture cell and tortured in an unconditional way, unimaginable way. So, that peace is a word, but right now we are trying to get it. We are trying to release our frustration. So, yeah, in a way. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And do you see how all your stories are sort of being interwoven in some way? And for me, ultimately, after this conversation, is what can we offer the world? The music, the comedy, and I know from Angel and Katie will get, and Jeremy, those tools, those personal tools that they can use, regardless if it's an individual situation or a situation in the crowd, just like the work that Tim is doing. So the next person that I'd like to hear from is Katie, and then it's going to be you, Angel, and then you, Tim. With everything that's been going on, Katie, and people like us, I said, are empaths, so we're feeling not just in our world, but we're just feeling this global thing. What is it? What is your words of wisdom, Katie, that you can offer to people who are watching and saying, you know what, I just need to reach out someplace. I need to do something. What would you say?
Thank you, Esther. I just really want to honor what I've heard as well before I speak to that, and just really honor you, Sihabul, in your moment of incredible trial in what your country is going through. And I just feel, and that links into what I want to say, which is I feel that empathy is an incredible tool which enables us, even if I can't imagine what it's like to be going through what Sihabul is experiencing right now, because it's very specific. I can't imagine that, but as a human being, I can there's something in me and in my heart that wants to reach out to you and feels the resonance of your pain. And as a person that we've all experienced pain in our lives, so I can resonate and understand what it is to go through pain. And therefore my empathy, and I think empathy is the start of building bridges. It's the start of building and I really, send you my deepest love unto your community. And I'll be thinking of you and trying to follow what's happening. And I now have a greater awareness. So thanks to how Sihabul has spoken, I now have greater awareness. So there's things I need to be more aware about. So I think empathy and listening, there's I always say that any kind of singing or voicing is 90% listening. So when we want to express in the world, which a lot of us are talking about, expressing our humor, expressing how we feel about things, the other very important part of that is listening firstly to inside of ourselves, inside of, what is the pain I need to listen to acknowledge. A lot of people have said you have to acknowledge the pain first. You have to listen inside of ourselves first, even though that must be. And sometimes we don't want to. We see a lot of people self-medicating and trying to run away from pain. But actually, when you sit with the pain and you listen to it first and you give it counsel, then you can hold it. Even if it seems unholdable and the terror seems too great, you can hold it because you are able to witness it. So you stand with it and you witness it with love. And then you hold this pain and then you say, do I need help to hold this pain? And that's when we go out to the community and we go to the people that we love, who we can trust to share the pain with. And Sihabul says, sometimes that involves reaching out more publicly as well and saying, hey, our community needs help. The international community need to know about this. So it is about, just reaching up and reaching within ourselves to build those bridges of connection between each other, and to know that we can connect with each other, even in the most terrible of circumstances. And in the week that I have seen here in the UK, I've seen the most horrific things happening, absolutely horrific, but I've also witnessed incredible acts of empathy. And I'll just leave you with one story that really inspired me, which I saw, some people may have seen on the news, an imam whose mosque was being attacked. And they were attacked for an hour and the police were barricading the mosque. And when the attack died down, the imam followed in the footsteps of his founder, who previously, when dealing with other racist attacks, he decided he would open the doors to the people that attacked him. He said, come and ask us questions about our faith. Come and talk to us. And they held a meeting and they let the people who had been perpetrators come in and share food with them and talk. And this built bridges in the community. Now, if that's not courageous empathy and courageous love, the kind of love that, John talked about and with MLK, that's the kind of love that goes beyond hate. It goes, I can even empathize with my perpetrators, even those people are still human. And I can open the doors to them and say, right, come in, let's talk. Let's talk. That for me is incredible leadership. So those are some of my reflections on this week. And thank you all for being here with me.
Thank you. A very powerful sharing. And Okay, Lowell, he's trying to leave some messages for us. He can't come on at the moment. Thank you so much for that, Katie, and thank you, Sihabul. And now we're going to go over to Timothy. Timothy, with your work, Time for World Peace. You also do a lot of work in the community, and so what's been your thought about what's been happening over the past few weeks, and how are some of your solutions? And so I'm trying to keep things to about sort of 2 minutes for everyone as well. So Timothy.
Well, do you know what, Esther? I'm just I don't know, listening to the stories. I mean, I communicate with lots of people overseas, and Pakistan, Kenya, Rwanda, and when they tell me what's going on in those countries, what's been done to them, civil unrest because of religion and all the rest. So I hear it. So I feel for you, Sihabul, right?
Yeah.
It makes me, when I hear stories like that, it just empowers me to do more. I need to do more. I'm doing as much as I can. I'm a teacher. I go out as much as I can and teach these young people to, let's do this. I look at every person on this screen now as my brother or my sister. That's the start. I need to take care of my brothers and my sisters. And I teach my children, my students, the people I come across, we need to start treating each other as human beings, as brothers and sisters, as one family. It's hard for people to understand that, I know, but what I've done over the years is develop workshops to get the young people to think differently, to make better choices. But for me, and as I say, I'm listening to the conversations now. I listened earlier on about laughter. I was a comic years ago. I'd laugh and I would joke, and that was my way. But I went through something about 12, 13 years ago, and it changed me. And it's made me feel, I need to get back to my old me. I need to be that comic. I need to be that person that can laugh, but also do the work that I'm doing. So for me, my go-to place is being out with people. I like to be out in the community. I like to be out in parks. I like to connect with Mother Earth. I like to talk. And the key thing Katie mentioned earlier on is about communication, listening. I listen to you, you listen to me, and we can come to a common ground. But a lot of people do not listen to each other. You make a decision on what you see or what you hear. You form your own story about what you've heard or what you've seen. And without having that key word, communication, and listening behind that communication, things will always be the same. So people need to be open to communication, that dialogue. What's going on for you? Why is it you're acting this way? Why is it you're treating me this way? Let's have a communication and try to get over what we're going through. But I'll just leave it there. I mean, I like to keep things simple. I know they're not, but it's basically, do you want a world that's peaceful, or don't you want a world that's peaceful? And if you do something that is not actually making the worlds of other people more peaceful, you're hurting, you're making life difficult for somebody else. That to me isn't peace. So I will leave it there. All I can say is I have a lot more work to do, and I'm really, really passionate about time for world peace and connecting people just using time itself. That we can all start talking about peace, sharing, making up, doing something positive just to make your world peaceful. And if 8 billion people on the planet can just do a little bit to make their own individual worlds more peaceful, then gradually the world becomes a more peaceful place. So thank you for the opportunity, and it's great meeting you all. And as I say, I look at all of you guys as my brothers and my sisters.
Thank you. Thank you, big bro.
Thank you, Esther.
Thank you. That was really powerful and succinct. Thank you. And there's two people now. There's Angel and Jeremy. And I know, Jeremy, you're very much a gentleman, so I'm going to let Angel go next. And Angel, as you said earlier, you do a lot of shamanic work, you do a lot of healing work. And I know you've been doing this for a while, and you have been and you have done a lot of work on yourself, as you know, many of us have done. And for you traveling through different countries, different spaces, different energies, what has it been like for you? How have you been managing this stuff that it may not have impacted you, but then what do you do to keep yourself cleansed and cleared, but also inspired?
Yeah, as an empath, it can be really difficult managing in this world, because the world is so harsh. There's so much negativity, there's so much hate, there's so much focus on difference. And that can feel really, really difficult, especially for sensitive souls. And so for me, I just take care of myself, of my energy. I instill really strong boundaries so that I am protected. I do I just look after myself. I put myself first. And that doesn't mean I'm selfish, that I forget about other people. I'm very, very passionate about the human race. You know, I feel that if you're not okay, then I'm not okay, you know. And this focus on difference is awful. It's a pandemic amongst humanity. And I feel that the more I do my work, inner work, and this goes for everybody, the more we're going to remember who we are, and the more we're going to get back to love, because we are all created from love. And when we remember who we are, this spiritual warfare that is going on the planet will make more sense. And then we can impact great change by shining our light, because it's our light that scares the evil, the negativity. And the evil and the negativity is very much perpetrated by the 1% and the governments, and they keep us separated. But when we all remember and realize, actually, we are one, it will be over for them. And this is the world that we want. This is the new paradigm that we are bringing in. So we have to keep working on self and bringing out our light. Let that little light of ours shine, shine, shine.
Thank you. Thank you. Powerful conversations going down here. You rocking. I'm coming to you soon. I know you're like that little buddy. I'm coming to you soon, Eric. But but Jeremy, now for you, Jeremy, because I know that you really sort of resonated a lot with what Angel said, because it's very similar to your ethos. So if you can also share about the work that you're doing, like I said, you've got about 2 minutes. I'm trying to give everybody 2 minutes, because I want to, just open up a little bit more, with more questions outside of this. So Jeremy.
Angel, it's interesting. Before I could say it, you said a lot I was going to say, which is fantastic. Because for me, that means that the mind belt, in other words, mankind has one mind. It gets individualized within the bodies, but we're all part of one whole. As Angel greatly said. And therefore, when I'm thinking it, she's already saying it, it's great. I see things from the overview I have and the overview of what I do, that it's a tug of war. Mankind is a tug of war between negative and positive. Forget the politicians, they're nothing, they have no power, they're just puppets of those. I hate to say the word low astral realms, because I don't think you won't understand it, but shall we say the nastier parts of this planet, below the physical plane. They control things, or they try to control things. And why I say they try, because all the peace workers, all of us here today, and all those out there doing it, they're terrified of peace. As our friend in Bangladesh quite rightly shown, why would peaceful protesters be a problem for a democratic government? Because peaceful protesters have the power of the universe, and the democratic government are only the power of the evil that control them, pay them, and put them in power. Therefore, they're terrified. They can't even wait for peace to gain control, because if peace gains power, it's over for them. Well, it's over for them anyway, by the way. It's over for them anyway. It's only a matter of time. the more you empower peace, the more you disempower evil. So evil can have all the plans it wants to do whatever it will through all the governments and all the things it has on this world. And it will fail because the peace workers will empower peaceful thought, peaceful action in the community, individually, globally, and that will disempower evil. We get what we deserve. So if we're entirely a selfish planet of all people caring only about ourselves, we're going to have selfish governments treating us the way we treat each other. But if we're being more peaceful, even one by one, that improves things, and then karma will not allow us. We get what we deserve, which is a more peaceful planet. You have to see that the politicians are nothing, the governments are nothing. They're all part of a machine. They have no control. They just do what they're told to do. They want everlasting war. They want everlasting craziness because that's where they get their power and energy from. But we talk through peace, through comedy, through music, through empowerment. That's the way forward. I could talk about yogic things like mantra and yoga breathing, how that empowers our light and channels it forward. But prayer isn't the only way to send that energy, as all the musicians here will tell you. And music is an energy from outside of this planet. That's why it's way beyond everything. People use music and they go, I know what I got here. Where the hell does this come from? Look at the power. And you learn how to use it and whoom. You know, when Bob Geldof did the Live Aid situation, and that caught all over the world with We Are the World, that was a wonderful situation, but it stopped immediately. I mean, when everyone found out that the government, I've forgotten the country now where it was all happening, in East Africa, was actually murdering its own people, and all Bob Geldof could do was try and save some of them. It was a very terrifying moment, but this is the world we live in. But forget about the negative. The positive is this: keep fighting, keep doing the peaceful things individually, empowering each other, empowering all the people you meet. This is the way forward. I have just come out of a situation where the last couple of weeks, the peace group I work for do something we believe helps all of mankind globally. And us who are part of that particular mission, we know that we're going to get the worst interference possible at us. So us individually went through terrible, terrible things. Like I have family situations of terrible illness. I have friends of mine, colleagues of mine, at the same thing, but we knew to forget all about it and focus on what we could do, because once we got through, the world will benefit. I mean, there was a massive earthquake in Japan, 7.1, almost no one died. Thank God. And that's part of the situation I'm part of. So whatever we can do in the world, whatever we're doing, we should keep doing it, because all together, it touches the whole world at once and empowers goodness and disempowers evil. Remember that every goodness disempowers evil.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. It's just after 9 o'clock, and you know, all these collective voices, you know, individually, you may be saying things differently, but you know what I'm hearing, there are common threads throughout everything that you've shared, and it's all about music and the vibration and comedy and humor and working on self, understanding self. And then once you do that, then we can do that more collectively. And I'm just going to throw this out because it's just after 9. I really want to throw this out to everyone now, because I'm going to try to wind down by 15:15. It's 7 minutes past. If I had to ask each and every one of you, because we've mentioned the word peace, we've mentioned the word peace many times, and if I can ask you to expand on that now, what could you do in your world now that would symbolize peace, and that would expand out to your community? What would that be? Just one thing that you feel you can do now, John.
Well, again, I think what I would do is exactly what we're doing now. And let me just deviate real quick and give Sihabul some hope. Here in the United States, we have for over 100 years called the Jim Crow laws. If anybody here knows about the Jim Crow laws, and they're still trying to implement it, meaning that I can't go to certain places. It's taking chances, going. Esther asked me earlier, you know, I was on the road, and this is in the 70s, and I tried to get some deodorant, and because we were on the road so long, and the guy told me the blackest thing I serve in here is coffee. Okay, so my point is, do I get angry at that? No. We tried to change the system. We change it through music. We change it through deeds. So that's what I did. Thy word for music. God gave me this gift of music, and I tried to use it not so much to sing the songs and attract the girls, but how can I use my songs to bring better healing, to bring people together? Because songs dismantle the system. Through the civil rights movement here in America, "We Shall Overcome" was the song that everybody uses and they're using today. Okay. The song makes you change people's mind, So through music, you may not sing on key, it doesn't matter, is that we're putting our voices universally. The whole universe vibrates in rhythm. This earth, this piece of dust that we sit on vibrates in a rhythm. So through music, I think, and dialogue with everybody here from all around the world, we're dialoguing now with a smile on our face. How can we make this a better place for some of us, our children, and some of our grandchildren, so they won't go through what we went through? So keep that hope alive there in Bangladesh, as we're keeping the hope alive in Rome, in South Africa, and London. And sooner or later, they got to listen. I'm a living witness of that.
Thank you. Wow.
Silence. I love it.
A lot of things in the world.
That's powerful. He's spoken. I felt that, and I felt that he was speaking into every part of what we're going through at this moment in time, but also that having that ripple effect, that hopefully someone who's listening to this, who's going through whatever it is, and also vibrationally, the more that we do things like this, the more that we host shows, and the more that we speak about it energetically and vibrationally, it's gonna touch, it's gonna go out. And that goes back to what Angel said: when we do the work on ourselves, then sometimes we don't even have to speak. We just walk into spaces and it's felt. Having that ripple effect.
I was in another country. I won't tell you, say what country. And I became friends with a person in that country. And we stopped in the middle of walking down the street, and he turned to me and he said, "I never thought you were like this." And I said, "Well, what did you think I was like?" He said, "Not the impression that I get over here." I said, "Elaborate." That you're violent, this type of thing. He says, "I am completely disillusioned by what they're telling me, and for now, we're one of the best friends. So when we travel, when we go on tour, I want to come to Bangladesh. I want to meet the people. I want to come again to Rome. I want to come to London again. I want to come back to South Africa." And so we can see each other and say, "Hey, I'm no different than you. You're no different than me. Let me sing a song in your language. Let's write a song together. Let's dance. Let me go out to dance." Okay, I'm part Native American. I'm a Muskogee Creek Choctaw Indian, which is a whole nother story. Okay, I go to the powwows and I dance.
Yeah, I went with you last
Right.
trip.
Yeah, I took Esther to a powwow, and it was nothing there but happiness there. And how we could, and everybody of all races, creeds, and colors and languages were there. No problems. And the main theory was to dance. And I remember I took a brother from Africa there, from Kenya, he and his wife, and they were looking at the beadwork, and they were saying, "Hey man, I'm looking at beadwork from my home." So again, once you interact and you see that we're the same, and I'm talking about, don't go on a cruise ship and get off and buy some souvenirs. Interact, and you'll find that we're all the same. And that'll bring down this temperature at least 100 degrees.
Wow. anybody.
I have to say, and I'm thinking it's similar to what's being said here, divide and conquer is the way evil works. And they tell you that that person's got that hat on and that person's likes that way of food and they should hate them. And if you ignore that and just find your own way of talking to people, surprise, surprise. I believe reincarnation. I'm sure a lot of people here are sympathetic to that idea, which means we've been everything. Every genetic, every gender, everything you've been, you are that. You've been that. So therefore, there's no difference, is there? Because just in this lifetime, we're in the genetics we're in now, but we've got all the cultural history and experience of all the cultures that have been on Earth in millions of years. Therefore, there is no division. There is no device. Because inside, we've all done it. And that's the way forward. It's what unites us and makes it happen. And of course, remember, difference is the point. Otherwise, we'd all be the same. And there's a lot of aspects of existence that need to be expressed. And therefore, it's not about right or wrong. It's about the flavors. And I always take music because we can all relate to that. There's no such thing as the right or wrong sort of music. There's just vibes within it. There's loud and not so loud. As long as it has feeling, for me, as long as it has feeling that hits you there, whatever it is, that's music. It's the same with people, how we express ourselves. We find different ways to love and appreciate and respect each other. And those that run the world, their agenda is power over the masses, and they don't get it with peace. So therefore, that's the battle, that's the war. Peace against negativity. Now, peace will win, but it's a tiny minority. All I can say is feel empowered. Don't want to feel the tiny minority. Keep pushing and never give in. And when you see it on the media, oh, this is happening, that's happening. No, it isn't. No, it isn't. There was a stabbing, and that was terrible. And then you get some people that probably got paid money to go and riot. And I'm sure the same people who are policing them were paid by the same pocket, making the riot. So, but the people of the area, they came out, there was the truth. And the people of those local areas came out and said, no, we're going to stop it. That's where peace wins, you see. Because they got their cameras, but people have mobile phones. And so you can get things out there in the media. And that's where the battle wins, because truth is where the power is. But of course, no one wants truth.
Thank you. And just Larry said he's listening to the show. Absolutely beautiful and necessary conversation. Thanks for this, Esther Austin. All is not lost. So thank you to those who are listening. I just want to honor that. And as we wind down, Katie, you're about to say something as well?
I was just going to say that hope is a superpower. You know, hope is a superpower. And I was invited to really reflect on hope at an event recently, and it really made me connect with how hope is this incredible, like it's like a TARDIS. It helps us, you know, reflect on the past and look at the past, and yet in the present say we want to build a better future. And so hope is this incredible multi-dimensional thing, you know, that exists in the past and the present and the future. And if we have hope and we keep building hope, even just a little flicker on days where it doesn't seem there's much hope, you just keep a little bit of a flicker of hope in the middle of it. That is such a thing there's always a seed of hope in something. And even if it's just looking at a flower, you know, I look at nature a lot. Nature really inspires me. So if I go and I realize, I think about nature a lot, and I think, well, in the garden, there are things that are always dying. There are things that are always growing. There are things that are always being reborn. So there's always hope. There's always new life. There's always something sprouting up in the middle of what seems like, you know, desolation. Things are still growing. There is still life. There's still hope. So that's what I just want to share with everyone, and just encourage people, don't give up hope. There's always a little bit there. Yeah, and just tune into that. Find that little bit of hope.
Wow. Thank you.
Could I just quickly jump in there? What I feel also is really important is that each and every day we need to just check in with our heart space, get into our heart space, and just say, how does my heart feel today? Does it feel angry? Does it feel resentful? Is it closed? Is it bitter? Or is it open? Because ultimately we want to be able to open our hearts to love, and so that we can connect with each other from our hearts, because we are moving into a heart-centered world.
Thank you. my battery's empty on my PC and it's just flashed up. Put your plug it in. Okay, so we've got two more people that we're going to hear from as we wind down. Sihabul, just 2 minutes, my dear, as we wind down. Everybody's really honored your story. I mean, we've all honored each other on the platform, and I just thank you for the sharing, because I just feel that there's this powerful sort of superhero energy that's flowing through all of us, because I'm a superhero. I'm getting my cape finally this year, and I want to be an elf, Martina, so we're going to be talking about that. But no, I do want to be an elf. Katie can attest to that. Katie was the first one that I told 2 years ago about wanting to be an elf, because also that's what, humor, going into that place of the child as well, remembering, and sometimes I say remembering what it's like to be a child, but some people haven't had those formative experiences. But it's about how can we still be a child in an adult world with all this stuff and help the balance. So Sihabul, very, very briefly, my dear, moving forward, what's your take on peace, especially what you've been through in the past few weeks?
Thank you, Esther, and thanks to all of you mentioning Bangladesh in your comments, in your dialogues, because it's really a heart-touching moment that communities are talking about us. And I am aligned with Sir John about giving the respect to each other's rights, each other's religious facts, and giving the freedom to each other to talk and communicate with each other. That's how the peace can be established right now. That's the thing. I think there's the ultimate thing. There is nothing else. Thank you.
And hope you look after yourself and find some to put all of that. And you can reach out to anybody on this platform if you want to talk, share. That
Sure.
that option is open. And last but not least, Lowell, I don't know if you're able to say anything at this moment in time. I don't know if you're in a place, but thank you for being on the board. I don't think he has. And Timothy.
Yes, I would love to add something quickly. I work with young people, 15 years or so, currently doing work with special needs. And the way I live my life and I teach them is using the word peace, the acronym for peace. P is for the people. You must take care of the people, whether you're black, white, tall, skinny, fat, black, or whatever. People come first. E, I teach them, is we need to start treating each other equally. A, I say, teach them, we need to accept each other for who we are. C is the biggest one, communicate. We need to communicate and we need to listen to each other. And I teach them people, equality, acceptance, communicate. E, we can learn to embrace each other. So that is what I use. And hopefully, John, after we've embraced, we can then have a dance and listen to some music, enjoy each other's cultures and our backgrounds and where we're from. So I will leave it there. It's all about peace, 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 and more peace for me.
Thank you, Timothy. And I would like to end that, in LA, I'm into grits. So grits and catfish, please, John. And in Italy, I like my risotto, mushroom risotto, okay? So
Oh, I promise you.
And Lowell, are you available to just leave a message, Lowell?
I am. I'm now home. I just wanted to say thank you to everybody that's contributed, because actually it does feel like a peaceful space has been created just actually through the dialogue. So there's something gone out into the world, I think, that's useful for people. I found it very useful. So that was it, really. I just wanted to say thank you. It's been really enlightening, and it definitely has made me feel a lot more peaceful.
Oh, wow. Thank you. Thank you. Well, ladies and gents, we've gone over time a bit, but it doesn't matter, because we've fed and we've nurtured and we've watered on so many levels, even within our own lives in space. So just wishing you all a wonderful week ahead. And, on occasion, I'm going to keep doing this every 2-3 months or whenever I feel is necessary. And for those who are listening, for those who are making comments, for those who will be listening, I hope you can take away. And as much as we've spoken here, let's be the change. Let's keep embodying that in our own lives, in our own selves, and actually doing something about it. We're not just talking about it, we're doing something about it. And that's all I got to say. Yes. And John, when you're ready, la, 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 la. I'm ready. So thank you. And Martina, like I said, I'm going to be interviewing Martina in a few weeks' time, and we're going to really sort of go deep into her story. And also, I've got a wonderful, wonderful lineup for my autumn show, because I also host a show on a Sunday where I interview legends and pioneers in music, film, and entertainment. And I've got some incredible old schoolers coming on. And I hope to be meeting Tavares and the Tramps in a few weeks' time. They're going to be performing in London. So I've been, you know, knocking up doors as I do. So, but keep an eye on this platform and also on my YouTube channel. And also we've got some great sponsorship packages, ladies and gents. You know, just to keep expanding the show and expanding all the sharing and everything. So thank you. I'm going to stop talking now. Have a wonderful week. Thank you all for your time.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Esther, and everybody as well. Thank you. Cheers. Look after yourselves. Bye-bye.
If you enjoyed this video, be sure to give it a thumbs up and subscribe for more content. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below, and don't forget to click the bell icon for notifications on future videos. Thank you for watching.